Okay, good day, grade 9s. The topic for today will be families of instruments. But before we start, let's quickly mark the homework that we did for the previous lesson. Okay, so on this page provided to you, we will look at the columns now and quickly mark the instrument, a fact, and the family of instruments. The first one is xylophone, second, flute, then we get the oboe, trombone and triangle. Trombone and triangle can also be swapped around. Okay, so let's look at the fact of a xylophone. It is made out of wood and bars, and the family of instrument is percussion. Of the flute, it is the favorite solo instrument in the orchestra, and it is a woodwind. The oboe has a double reed, and this is also woodwind. The trombone is popular in military dance and jazz, and it is a brass instrument. And the triangle was first documented in the 10th century, and this is a percussion instrument. Okay, let's quickly look at the crossword puzzle. Number 1, horn. Number 2, trumpet. Number 3, tuba. Number 4, trombone. And number 5, valves. Okay, wonderful. So let's move on to the next section of work. So before we start, let's quickly look at the 4 different members of the musical families. So we have brass, percussion, woodwind, and strings. So let's look at brass. If you think the brass family got its name because the instrument is made out of brass, you are right. The family of instruments can play louder than any other in the orchestra and can also be heard from far away. Although their early ancestors are known to have been made out of wood, tusk, animal horn, or shells, today's modern instruments are made entirely out of brass. Brass instruments are essentially very long pipes that widen at their ends into a bell-like shape. Their pipes have been curved and twisted into different shapes to make it easier to hold and to play. Like the woodwind family, brass players use their breath to produce sound, but instead of blowing into the reed, you vibrate your lips by buzzing them against a metal cup-shaped mouthpiece. I would show you how, but I think it's best I do not. The mouthpiece helps to amplify the buzzing of the lips, which creates the sound. Most brass instruments have valves attached to their long pipes. The valves look like buttons. When you press down on the valves, they open and close different parts of the pipe. You change the pitch and sound by pressing different valves and buzzing your lips harder or softer. The brass family members that are most commonly used in the orchestra include trumpet, French horn, trombone, and tuba. Let's look at the percussion family. The percussion family is the largest in the orchestra. Percussion instruments include any instrument that makes a sound when it is hit, shaken, or scraped. It's not easy to be a percussionist because it takes a lot of practice to hit the instrument at the right amount of strength, in the right place, and at the right time. Some percussion instruments are tuned and can sound different notes, like the xylophone, timpani, or the piano. And some are untuned with no defined pitch, like the bass drum, syllable, and the castanets. Percussion instruments keep the rhythm, make special sounds, and add excitement and color. Unlike most of the other players in the orchestra, a percussionist will usually play many different instruments in one piece of music. The most common percussion instruments in the orchestra include the xylophone, cymbals, triangle, snare drum, bass drum, tambourine, maracas, gongs, chimes, celesta, and piano. So now let's look at string. When you look at a string instrument, The first thing you probably notice is that it is made out of wood. So why is it called a string instrument? The bodies of the string instruments, which are hollow inside to allow the sound to vibrate within them, are made of different kinds of wood. But the part of the instrument that makes the sound is the strings, which are made out of nylon, steel, or sometimes gut. The strings are played most often by drawing a bow across them. The handle of the bow is made out of wood, and strings of the bow are actually horsehair from the horse's tail. Quick fact. Sometimes the musician will use their fingers to pluck the strings, and occasionally they will turn the bow upside down and play the strings with the wooden handle. The strings are the largest family of instruments in the orchestra, and they come in 4 different sizes. The violin, which is the smallest, viola, cello are the biggest, and the double bass, sometimes called the contrabass, is the biggest instrument of the string family. The smaller instruments, the viola and the violin, make higher pitch sounds, while the larger cello and double bass produce a low, rich sound. They are all similar shaped, with curvy wooden bodies and wooden necks. The strings stretch over the body and neck and attach to a small decorative head, where they are tuned with small tuning pegs. Now, finally, the woodwind family. The instruments in this family are used to be made out of wood, which gives them their name. Today, they are made out of wood, metal, plastic, or sometimes a combination of those. They are all basically narrow cylinders or pipes with holes and an opening at the bottom end of them and at the mouthpiece at the top. You play them by blowing air through the mouthpiece. That's where the wind in woodwind comes forward, and opening or closing the holes with your fingers to change the pitch. Metal caps, called keys, cover the holes of most woodwind instruments. The mouthpieces of some woodwinds include the clarinet, oboe, and bassoon use a thin piece of wood called a reed, which vibrates when you blow across it. The clarinet uses a single reed made of one piece of wood, while the oboe and the bassoon use a double reed made of 2 pieces that are joined together. Just as with the stringed instruments, the smaller woodwinds play the higher pitches, while the longer and larger instruments play the lower notes. The woodwind family of instruments include from the highest sounding instruments to the lowest. For example, the piccolo, the flute, oboe, English horn, clarinet, the E-flat clarinet, the bass clarinet, the bassoon, and the contrabassoon. Okay, so what I want you guys to do now is the following. You will see attached here to Google Classroom, there is a Word document. In that Word document, there is a word search that you please have to complete. If you can print it out, wonderful, please do so, and paste it in your Arts and Culture book under today's date. If you cannot print it out on Google Classroom, you will be able to edit it there, and please submit this on Google Classroom as well. And then all of these instruments can be found in your Arts and Culture handbook from page 163 all the way to page 180. Okay, thank you very much.